Spaz spoiled by room service? No way.
Spaz has got a maid.
Yeah.
By Mrs. Spaz. What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the Oregon Ducks live show. That is right. We are live as Spaz is eating dinner.
As
he does
per usual.
Every week. Welcome in, everyone, though, to the Oregon show right here on the Voice of College Football. Please consider hitting that like and the subscribe button. It helps the show out a lot, as well as the channel. And we have Derek back tonight, and Spaz as usual, who went off camera. But how are you doing tonight, Derek?
Hey, man, I'm glad to be back. It's always a good week coming back after a big win over Oregon State last week, heading into Pac-12 championship for the final time, getting to play your bitter rival with a chance for college football playoff berth, Heisman trophies on the line. It's a great time to be a Duck fan.
How about you, Spaz? How you doing over
there? I'm good, man. Just figured I'd take a couple bites off camera. A little easier.
It's generally more polite, too.
I think the audience appreciates it.
Yeah, no one wants to see you scarfing down whatever it is. Like the one time it was like, is that ribs? It's like, oh, it was wings. Like, whatever. Well, Derek, you weren't here last week, and so we did have what, we did talk about it briefly, and, wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on this, because obviously last week was the potential final rendition for this foreseeable future of the Civil War. How did you think it went?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have drawn it up any better if I wanted to. I mean, it felt like complete dominance from start to finish. As a Duck fan, just being this late in the season, being in November, if you can get through these big games with no stress, it's a rarity. And it absolutely happened. I felt like Oregon was in control the entire game. All three. Let me rephrase that. 2 out of 3 phases of the game, they clearly won. It was a great showing overall. I thought the defense really showed up, holding that offense to 7 points. That's nothing to scoff after, especially with, DJU playing well, especially as of recently, Damian Martinez being arguably the best back in the Pac-12, depending on who you ask. Defense played really well. Bo and company marched up and down the field. Usually I'd kind of look at our rushing stats and say, this is I believe our 5th consecutive game rushing for under 160 yards. It feels like the offense is adapting and moving, kind of going with the flow as to their opponent. And once again, they played flawlessly for the most part. So it was great from start to finish. I have no real concerns.
Yeah, I'm glad you said 2 of 3 phases. Well, 2.5. 2.5. Let's put it. We'll give it 2.5. We'll give it 2.5.
2.5 is solid.
What are we getting a half to?
The half subtraction is 1 field goal miss and 1 kick out of bounds. Other than that, everything was pretty good.
All right, I'll take that. Yeah,
I'll give a half on that one. And I think that's how me and Spaz felt for the most part. Is 31-7 doesn't look like anything major, in the sense of like the score. All of us were way off on our totals. Don't worry, I have the numbers. We got a doozy this weekend.
I bet we
have a doozy. We have a doozy from this past week.
Did you actually win this week finally?
I think we have a doozy. We're gonna get to that. We got to get through the rest of the show first. Stop trying to skip ahead an hour. Or whatever.
Getting overzealous.
I think. I really think the Dogs got called off after that Bryant tackle. After he got tackled and kind of, had to limp off. I think that was Lanning just going, you know what? We don't need to do a whole lot more in this game.
I think the point was made at that point. The game was clearly been out of hand. Like I was saying, it was complete domination. Even going back to the first drive of the game, how, as an Oregon fan, especially in the last 20 years, how many drives have you seen that have taken 8.5 minutes off the clock? That's so insane.
About maybe 4.
Yeah, and that over 20. So we're averaging one of those drives every 5 years over the last 20 years, and the fact that they kind of went in there and, Oregon's supposed to be this flashy, big speed, high tempo team. They go in there and they really kind of take Oregon State's game and make it their own at that point. And the first drive right away, and really, I think it kind of set a tone for the Oregon State defense. You know, they looked pretty defeated throughout the entire game. It definitely set a tone for the offense. You know, they moved the ball however they needed to. There was 2 big third down conversions on that first drive. Bo made some nice throws. Bucky broke some tackles. It was great overall. So, yeah.
I think the difference in our running game, I think this team run-wise can pretty much, and that's what's kind of scary, can do whatever they want. And I think up until now, and I think through Friday, it's turned into the Bo Heisman show. Then we get to the CFP or whatever bowl game we're gonna get. It might be especially if we get to the CFP. Because if we get to a bowl game other than the CFP, I'm worried we're gonna see Bo Nix and several others say, "Yeah, it's been a great ride, thanks."
I actually don't worry about that because I know we're going to go to a hell of a bowl game. We're still going to go to like a New Year's Six, and that's what Nix has always talked about. He wants championships, but a big bowl win would be a great way for him to cement his college career in his own personal manner. That's always been his big thing. He wants to win the big ones.
And it doesn't feel like him. You know, it's just like the feel of the team. You know, we're fortunate enough to have the Ducks versus them videos every week, so we get a nice little insight view as to what the locker room looks like, kind of the overall.
Dude, those cinematic shows that they keep doing each week just keep getting better and better and better. I cannot wait to see. I think Ben said it. I can't wait to see. The end of the year one is just gonna be mind blowing. Can you imagine if we win the Natty, what kind of a year end show they're gonna put up? It's gonna be like a 45-minute documentary.
And I'm not even going that far. I'm going no matter what. At the end of this year, there will be some sort of thing, especially with like some big bowl win or whatever like that, whatever it is, just to say there was the next step forward. And yes, Clint, we will be seeing Coach Smith next year.
Is that real, Clint, or is that just being sarcastic?
He's being sarcastic.
That's absolute sarcasm.
I can see it being legit though, because with all the Twitter mumbo jumbo the last couple of days, I could see something like that absolutely legit.
Yeah,
I signed my contract at halftime.
I did hear just random news. I did see Oregon State promoted Bray to head coach. I don't know if that's full time or if that's just intern for right now, but it sounded like a contract.
Probably. Yeah. That's a smart move.
That's for the long haul. I think that's a great move for them.
I think so too. It keeps some consistency.
It keeps Damian Martinez set.
Well, I just feel, it keeps some cohesion there. You know, there's someone to kind of hold that locker room together. It's someone, you know, we know the players are a big fan of them.
Someone from within, yeah.
Yeah. Like even the fans that I've seen, like, you know, they're big fans of the guys. So, you know, it's nice that they have someone that can probably, you know, help retain what talent they have left heading into, you know, the mysterious future. And, you know, overall, I think he's a great coach. Let's be real here. You know, there's no reason he can't continue the trajectory of the program. So hey, it's a great hire for the Beavs.
And then you weren't
a smart hire.
Yeah, I think it was I told you I told Spaz specifically I was listening to the Beaver Twitter space, and everyone said just keep Bray, keep him. So I know that made at least a lot of those people pretty happy. And that's one thing you weren't here, Derek, to talk about. So I don't want to go into it like for 10 minutes. We kind of already hashed it on another show. But do you think this is the last foreseeable Civil War? Because especially with Washington and Washington State renewing the Apple Cup for 5 years, I don't see why Oregon can't. I know there's a lot of difficulty. We've talked about it. Bump Boise State. Texas Tech is apparently working maybe to change their schedule for us for 1 year to open up a spot. Even.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think this. I can't say next year. It's getting late for scheduling. Obviously, Oregon State has some work to do. There have been rumors of Oregon working with Boise State to kind of remap out their, home and away series. But I don't think so. I think we're going to see the rivalry with Oregon State continue. Just because we're already in talks about continuing the matchup, especially, now that Washington and Wazoo kind of set the tone for continuing these long historied rivalries. I think Oregon's going to treat it very much the same way. I think we'll obviously work together to try to make sure each other's on the schedule. It really does benefit both parties. I think, the fans, obviously they want to see the historic rivalry continue. For Oregon State, that likely means, increased revenue, having that on the schedule. For Oregon, it's just, the continuation of a storied rivalry once again. So, yeah, I think we're going to see that continue. I don't know if it'll be next year, but I do expect to see that on the schedule in the very near future.
Yeah, if we don't hear about it by within about 2 weeks, I'm going to say it's not going to happen next year, probably, unless something dramatic changes. But I mean, you think that's almost, and I don't mean like in the sense of like a bye week, like in the sense of because it's playing the Beavers. It's in the sense of the travel, not having to actually even go out of state to play a game once a year would alleviate a lot of travel for the players and financially. Because, I mean, trucking across the country, all that equipment and flying the team, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it makes sense for both parties. I do think both parties want to continue the rivalry. I know if you go on social media right now, particularly Twitter, the Oregon State fans are a little bit bitter. For good reason, and tend to spew their venom at Oregon and, say all this and that and some crazy stuff. But I think down in everybody's core, if you're a fan of one of these two programs, you want to see this rivalry continue. Even the Oregon State fans who are angry with, what Oregon did, I think, give that some time to cool off a little bit. And I think at their core, they're going to want to see this rivalry continue just because it means something, it means more.
And when you say what Oregon did, and I saw a lot of it in that Twitter space from the Beaver fans. So Oregon and Washington, remember, were vetted in August 2022 by the Big Ten. They were vetted as in like, okay, you're cool. We'll take you if we offer. You're good. A lot of the Beaver fans were saying, this is the Beavers just jerking around and doing nothing. Same with Wazoo. They just didn't do anything. Had they reached out and got themselves vetted, they might have been in a different situation too. And I don't blame the Beavers. I'm not blaming Oregon. It's been the Pac-12's whole kind of thing, but that's been kind of the problem with the Pac-12. It's like sitting back and waiting and hoping for something different.
Well, and any AD with a half a brain cell saw the Apple the Apple media contract and was like, if we're stuck going to Apple, fuck that. We're out of here. I'm not even going to play that game, they said.
Well, I think they had high hopes because, again, the Pac-12 rejected the ESPN offer earlier that had been for like $30 million a school.
Yeah.
So, again, it was the stubbornness of the Pac-12 as a whole. But that showed more stubbornness to say, we see USC, UCLA gone. Oregon, Washington already are looking to get vetted. We're going to wait another year. Oh, well, now everyone's gone. Shit.
Well, it's just the fact that once UCLA and USC jumped, which, in itself, that probably could have been avoided had the PAC approached the media deals in a very different way.
Well, had they done it just earlier, if it was 30 without them, it could have been 40 probably with them.
Well, and like the thing for me is the PAC understands that if they lose USC and UCLA, they lose a major media market, and not even do they lose a major media market, they give that major media market to a competitor, right? You know, the Pac-12 being a P5 school, they're a direct competitor of the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12. So you know what I mean? It's kind of a lose-lose there. So it was kind of once those two left, I think there was an understanding that it was a very real possibility that the Pac continued to crumble, like especially particularly Oregon and Washington's cases. You know, people can say what they want; they're a little more known as like a more national brand, right? For the respective reasons, but it didn't make sense.
Ship, time to jump off.
And that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for either university to stay on the ship. Now, had they approached it differently early on, was able to keep the USC market, the media deal, likely for some more money. Everybody's happy, sings kumbaya or whatever.
Yeah, it would have been probably in the 40 to 45 because it was originally going to be like 30 without them, and they turned it down. It probably would have been at least 40, 45. That would have kept everyone at least, I think, decently happy. But that's way long gone. But it was, again, the whole inactiveness, not being proactive on the stance of some of the schools is why, unfortunately, there's a couple sitting around waiting for nothing because, they did get a win today. Again, the Washington Supreme Court stated that they do maintain the rights, and all 12 schools remaining still have the say on how the money is dispersed. So it's not a win-win, but it's another win in battle, but it's still delayed more and more for appeals and all that good stuff.
We're not done with it yet.
Oh, yeah. No.
Like Sunday night, gentlemen, it is time to have a moment of silence for the Pac-12.
How dare you? How dare you? I'm not done. I'm not ready. We're not ready to that point yet. What we are ready for is, though, breaking news from Spaz.
Yeah, breaking news this week. Well, for those of you who have not been tuning in lately, Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith has left the building. He says, 7.5 versus 5.8. See you later, guys. Thanks. Been great. Adios.
Spaz actually did a good job of that. I thought he was going to be like, what do you mean breaking news? Because that wasn't the breaking news at all. I had another thing written down. I was just putting him on the spot for that.
Well, Spaz, I do want to say your acting skills are supreme, but now I'm also kind of curious. We have another piece of breaking news.
That was pretty on point. Breaking news in a moment of tragedy, I think. I got to get that off. Troy Franklin was snubbed from the award finalists for the Blitnikoff list today or yesterday. He was eliminated, even though he has more catches, more yards, and the same touchdowns, if not more, than a couple of the people on the list. Shocking how that works.
These awards are so tough. For one, it's easy to just be pissed. For obvious reason, Troy Franklin has had the best year an Oregon receiver has ever had in multiple categories. But you have to feel like it's partially a popularity contest just with the name, Marvin Harrison Jr. Makes sense, right? Superior athlete. Not what I'm saying. Not what I'm saying at all. But, when you're just straight up looking at it statistically, it's hard not to be a little upset that Troy didn't at least make the finalist list. I think Malik Neighbors, he's probably going to win. With that
I think that's fair. And Harrison, I get it. Without Harrison, Ohio State would be nothing.
But you can make the same argument for UW. Rome Odunze that man is a world class athlete. I will never argue that. I'm not going to sit here and bash the guy just because he plays for the other team. He's a phenomenal athlete. But it's hard not to be a little upset when it's your guy who's left at the curb.
Yeah, it sucks to have a record-breaking season in touchdowns, receiving yards, all that, and not even make just the finalist list. I don't think he would have won the Blitnikoff, but not to make the finalist list, kind of like, come on.
That's all right. Well, I think he'll take his frustrations out on Friday. We're about to find out.
Well, are we?
Against one of the guys who made the list. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, just that alone is actually quite an accomplishment. When was the last time we had a Blitnikoff Award semifinalist, let alone? Yeah, exactly. I have no idea either. I have no idea.
I legitimately have no clue.
No idea either. It had to have been. I mean, Jesus, quite a long time ago. I will say that. I should have looked that up earlier. My bad. My bad, everyone. Let's. Are you ready to relive some pain though? Because I think it's important to set up the talk point that we have coming up as we get into the preview. I think it's important to go back and relive the misery that was the breaking of Camden Lewis.
Oh man, and UW fans, I just want you to know you absolutely broke Camden Lewis. That man is shattered. His ego is gone. I think the fans are a little less than confident. UW absolutely broke Camden Lewis.
Which I went back and watched because remember earlier in the game, and I remember I texted you guys during it. I was like, isn't it so nice we can have a guy hit from 45, 46 yards and not have to worry about it? And then he misses a 43, and then he hasn't been able to hit a high 30 since almost. He literally cannot anymore. So we have to revisit the number 8 at number 7 Huskies, where statistically Oregon outplayed Washington in all facets outside of fourth down conversions and one less red zone trip efficiency. Other than that, statistically, everything was in favor of the Ducks and still could not ice the game away or tie it for overtime.
Yep, critical calls in that game is the turn of the game.
Yeah, and you know the
field goal at the end of the half, you're tied. You're headed to overtime. You make the 4th and 2 run with 2.5 minutes left in the game. You win that game. You don't even have to. You take a knee and game's over. And Camden Lewis, the student section in Seattle, kudos to you guys. You broke Camden Lewis's heart and anything about him since.
The one thing I was that, Dick? Oh, I was gonna say the one thing I do say is like before half, probably should have taken the points just for the hell of it. We were already there. But again, what would have changed the game plan in the second half for Washington or Oregon? That's why those are those hindsight questions. And at the end of the day, regardless, yeah, that 4th down at the end with like a little over 2 minutes left, that was it. That would have iced the game, would have just knelt the ball, game over. At 33-28. Then or 33-29 rather, I guess. Didn't do it. Couldn't get it done. Yeah, so at the end of the day, and I know Washington fans are always saying this, you didn't outplay Washington. We won. It's like, yes, technically we did outplay you. But at the end of the day, we failed to execute in a couple areas. At the end of the day, it's still an L. So the win is more important than outplaying. And you got the win. We did not. So not denying that part of it.
Well, it's like a lot of the same issues, conundrums, whatever you want to call it, that we faced in this first game, I think are going to be even more apparent this week. So, if we're talking about 4th downs, going for risky 4th downs, taking field goals, I think all of a sudden we quickly realized that field goal chip shots are no longer field goal chip shots for us. They're true field goal attempts, which kind of changes the way you approach how you go for 4th downs when you decide to kick and stuff. So now with Camden Lewis being shaky at best, especially when we're talking about outside 35 yards, which is not a long field goal in D1 college football. I think we're going to see Dan have to continue to be aggressive inside UW territory. If we're talking the 50 down to the 30, I think it's likely we're going to see him go for any fourth downs. That's just because, it's how much do you really trust our kicking game right now? Me as a fan, I have very, very, very little faith going forward. So
I think this changes more of the first down and second down play call to not even get into a third and medium or whatever type play where we have to worry about fourth down. Like almost try to avoid third down is, if entirely possible, to not have to make that decision later, hopefully. Like chip shots, that's fine. Or low 30-yarders, fine. But yeah, anything over 35, I think they're going to be like, unless it's like, I guess it depends on how long the fourth down is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like 4th and 2, they're probably going to be like, now we're going for this. But if it's like 4th and 10 from like 38 yards, they're probably going to give them the shot.
You almost have to at that point. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to present some interesting situations, though, and it's crazy because if it works out, Dan Lanning's going to look like a hero. If it doesn't work out, the whole narrative's going to be Dan Lanning can't win the big game. So, it's an important game for a lot of reasons.
Oh, this is a good part of our mark down here, too, is, aggressive coaching, and Lanning and Stein both said, hey, yeah, that was our aggressiveness and bad play calls on us. And I think they have. We've seen them actually pull back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Although some of it they haven't really had to. Even in the Beavers game though, they did go for fourth downs a couple times. To kind of set the tone, but they haven't really had to go for these. So who knows?
No, we haven't really been in like a close game recently where this has kind of been a major deal. If we're playing Utah and we're sitting up by 21 points and they don't get a 4th and 2, no one bats an eye about it. If it's Washington in the Pac-12 championship game, all of a sudden the magnifying glass is on and it's a major deal. So yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head where it's been apparent where the situation has arisen again, but I'll reiterate, I really think we're going to see this exact situation present itself this week.
I mean, again, as like any comment.
Have you seen the line? It's 9.5 points for a reason.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. You're skipping way ahead, Spaz. What I told you
part of this, telling the story.
Hey, we're all excited about it, I know.
Well, he's got to calm down. This hate week 2 thing. That's not. I don't know if YouTube will allow that type of language on the screen the whole time.
Oh man!
All right, I'm going to give Spaz his moment here. Spaz, please reiterate your news here for a second. Where is it? I just did it. There it is. Please, everyone, can we have a moment of silence for the upcoming final Pac-12 football championship and game in the Pac-12? That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
I felt that in my heart.
Well, I mean, one of the things we had was, what is this like? We were supposed to have a Husky fan on. He probably got delayed. He might still show up, or he maybe just couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately, because one of the questions was to him too is how nostalgic is this? In the sense, this is the final Pac-12 football championship game. The final, at least as we know it, let's put it this way, for the foreseeable future, the final championship game. And it has to do with the final two that threw the death coffin nail, in the Pac-12 with Washington, Oregon, leaving.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic as to how the Pac-12, the final Pac-12 game played out. I think it's fitting, though. I think I saw something where this is the first time Oregon and Washington have met, both being top 5 teams. So, you could argue this is the most highly ranked Pac matchup of all time, and we're getting to see it going out. So I'm glad we're going out with a bang. In terms of like the nostalgia, I don't think it's quite hit me yet. I think I'm pretty excited to go hit the Big Ten schedule. So I think the excitement's taken over more than anything else. But in terms of the nostalgia, it is sad to think about, a lot of these historic matchups, the historic pain in the asses, the visits to the desert, and Pack After Dark, the trips to Pullman, Washington, where our dreams get crushed, getting to play Stanford no matter how bad they are, and just being a little bit nervous because you know how that shit goes. So, yeah, I'm going to miss all that stuff. I'm going to miss, the matchups. Obviously, the Pac, it's a historic conference, the Conference of Champions, about to be dissolved here. But, it's a really cool way to go out where you could argue this is the best Pac-12 matchup of all time, let alone, being the finale.
I think that's it. It's seeing the familiarity of who you play every year, and then being thankful, like in the Pac-12 status of going, yeah, we get to skip that team this year, or oh man, I wish we'd had our shot at that team.
Mm-hmm.
And now going into not like completely unfamiliar territory with certain teams, but definitely unfamiliar in the sense of you still don't know the environments. It's just totally obscure and odd. It's not like it's a non-con game where you're like, okay, this is cool. This is something different.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, that is your life now.
Yeah, it's going to take some getting used to for sure. I think
Rutgers.
That's what I'm thinking. Like Rutgers, Illinois, playing Maryland. It's like seeing some of these teams being on our schedule consistently.
Iowa.
Yeah. I mean, even for me, seeing the Badgers on the schedule, 2 out of every 3 years, like it's kind of surreal. So, like I said, it'll take some getting used to, I think, but I'll miss it for sure. It's crazy that I'll have to, the Pac is the thing of the past after the next couple months here.
Oregon's not used to playing in the snow.
Well, neither is Southern Cal. They're going to suffer even more.
Yes.
They're the ones who are going to suffer.
There is nothing I would love to see more than USC go to Madison, Wisconsin, like late November. You're outside for like 5 minutes and your fingers just ache. It's so cold outside. You love it.
God. You can't throw a football.
You can't
you can't kick a football when it's like frozen solid.
You get hit and you feel every bit of that hit. Yeah, it's bone chilling. It's truly bone chilling.
Anyone knowing Derek knows Wisconsin weather. I know North Dakota weather, where it gets like -40 every year. You can't do anything. So imagine them in an open door stadium. That's why. Have you ever? If no one, maybe people. I mean, maybe the three of us knows. That's why USC always alternates with Notre Dame when they play.
Mm-hmm.
If they play at USC, it's late November. If they play at Notre Dame, it's like late September. So they avoid the cold. They ain't gonna be able to do that anymore.
Yeah.
No, especially being the new kid on the block, and
you're at the mercy of the Big Ten.
Absolutely, you're gonna pay your dues. And I can't wait to see, even Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
It's going to be brutal.
It's
going to be brutal.
State College, Pennsylvania. Good luck, my friends.
Yeah.
I wish I had asked this earlier. Since it's specifically Pac-12, obviously there's a lot of memory from Pac-10, but just in the Pac-12 era, I should have asked everyone if they had what was their one most painful or happy moment, like most exciting, thrilling moment or painful moment. Like it could be a bad call that cost a loss, or just the most mind-blowing thing you've seen. Like maybe outside of Stanford coming back to beat Colorado this year, that was mind-blowing.
I'll give you my low point first.
Okay,
would be Cam Newton and Mr. Dye.
Michael Dyer.
that was Pac-10.
That was. Oh, so yeah, you're right. That was before the.
And
12.
I'm thinking more in the Pac-10 conference itself as an actual conference. Or you can use Pac-10 if you want to, but I'm thinking more just specific Pac-12, but in conference play, not non-conference.
Oh, I can't tell you. Conference. Worst would be Stanford. The Stanford game at Autzen, number 2 Oregon. That's got to be it.
There it is. It truly is kind of hard to pick one bad one. My whole heart would like to take the entire 2016, 2017 years, and just that in itself was the worst for the Pac. Getting thrown up to, was it 70-21 at home against UW? That was a glorious one. But yeah, losing to Stanford as a heavy favorite.
Taggart teams?
What's that?
Was that the Taggart team?
Yeah.
That was Mark Helfrich's last year and Taggart's one and only year.
Oh, okay.
That's why it was just kind of a combination of just because Herbert got hurt with Taggart. That's why that end of that year went so terribly south. He had that broken collarbone, I think. Was that with Taggart or was that with Cristobal? I can't remember if that was 17 or 18 that he broke the collarbone.
Yeah, but
that was the year we won the whatever the bowl it was, Michigan State 7-6.
Red Box Bowl.
Red Box Bowl, yep.
That was fucking disgusting.
That was a disgusting game. That was an absolutely disgusting game. I watched every second of it, but that was a the highlight tape is 3 minutes long of missed field goals and one touchdown.
Ill-timed fumbles. It was just nasty on all sides of the ball.
Yeah, that was.
It was.
Hey, talk about not being ready for Big Ten football. We're coming for you, Iowa. Coming for you.
Man, I'm so curious. Obviously it doesn't have to be a big point here, but I was thinking about this today. If Oregon played Iowa, how do you think this game would go? What do you think the score would look like? A really high-scoring offense against a team that cannot score at all against even a mediocre D, and Oregon has a solid D.
Iowa would still, I think, keep the Ducks in check pretty well. I think I could see I don't know. What do you think, Spaz? 20 to 24-6? 24-9, maybe?
Think about it this way. Who was it? Was it Northwestern put up almost 30 on them by themselves?
That's
so,
true.
They're not generationally, just a phenomenal. They're solid, don't get me wrong, and they win with their D. But I think Oregon could put up 30-plus points. I would expect them to put up 30-plus points, and I would expect Iowa's probably not scoring more than 13 on a great day.
Duck of the Desert, I'm about where he's at.
I could see this. I'm just going to go that defense shows up. They seem to play up and down a little bit. Some days they'll be really, really good. They're always stout, but Oregon would still be able to win. But
yeah, no, I'm with Duck of the Desert too. I'm thinking somewhere in that ballpark that thing would be. I just don't think it's even close.
Well, thinking of big time wins potentially. Is this game the Heisman game for Bo Nix or Michael Penix? We are down realistically to 3 people in the Heisman race. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix, Jane Daniels, and Michael Penix. And Jane Daniels has all the stats. He's on a 3-loss team. The problem for him is he's not playing this weekend, whereas Nix and Penix are, and they get to have another shootout against each other. So is this the week where make or break, whoever has the best game and their team wins, potentially snatches victory?
I think, I don't know, maybe I have an unpopular opinion about it, maybe not, but I don't think Michael Penix is going to win the Heisman this year. I think he could have a solid game and win this Pac-12 championship, and I still don't think it's going to happen. Just because of the second half performance on the season. Statistically, he's slowed down. I'm not saying he's bad by any stretch. Still had a phenomenal year, continuing to have a phenomenal year. But I don't think he's there. I think what Vegas is showing us is that it's a 2-horse race. I think this is Bo is to kind of lose. He has to have a nice showing this weekend. But if he has a nice showing, 300 yards, couple touchdowns, stays turnover free, I think it's Bo's. With that being said, Jaden Daniels is having an unbelievable statistical year, especially with his legs. That's really what gives him that extra leg over Bo. That's the main argument of all the SEC guys right now. Guys like Paul Feinbaum. That dude is an SEC homer notoriously, and he's absolutely pushing for.
Oh, they've been going at it all day. Apparently it's him, Feinbaum,
David
Pollock, and someone else is like straight just preaching to the choir for Daniels. And I understand Daniels has amazing stats. They're also leaving him until the late in the fourth quarter to throw like 2 more touchdowns when they're already up 30 points.
And that's the thing. The playing time is not close. I think Bo has 6.5, 7.5 less quarters played, something like that. That really adds up. We saw 4 or 5 games I can think of off the top of my head where Bo was pulled immediately in the third quarter. Midway through the third quarter, we got to see a lot of tie this year. But yeah, but I get it. It's hard to look at what Jaden Daniels has done, which is also historic, and say he doesn't deserve it, because at the same, if it's anybody else, I'd say, yeah, he does. Absolutely. But then what Bo is doing, we see how valuable it is. Bo has been absolutely incredible. There's not another quarterback in the country I'd want leading this team right now. Someone has to win it. Someone has to lose it. But in my heart, if Oregon wins this weekend, Bo Nix will be holding the Heisman Trophy. That's just my opinion.
I think so. As long as he doesn't do anything that costs us the game. We have to win it, I think, no matter what. But if he has a game like he did in the first meeting and we win the game, I think that's pretty much wrapped up. Voting has to be in for the Heisman Monday, 9 Eastern, I think.
Yeah, Monday.
About like 9 or 10 a.m. or something like that. They have to have the votes in. So the whole point is Bo has a stage to himself. So unless half the Heisman voters, have already done, which unfortunately a lot of them do, have submitted their vote for no reason without watching championship week.
All the SEC guys, Paul Feinbaum's already in. Yeah, exactly.
That man's had his vote submitted for weeks.
Yeah, that's part of the problem with the voting. That's why I do agree with people who say we need to take however many people it is, just say 800 voters, and we need to trim that shit down to like 100. The people that actually watch the game.
Yeah, it's tough. You're going to have bias regardless. There's been a prevalent SEC bias in terms of voting all the way back to the BCS, all the way, obviously the AP has their own thing going on. The coaches poll is heavily skewed in terms of the SEC. Now we're looking at Heisman vote. It is what it is. It's known as the premier conference in college football, so they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. It is what it is.
And there is no hate on Jaden Daniels, what he's doing. We know Jaden Daniels. He has shown flashes in the Pac when he was in the Pac-12 against Oregon specifically, unfortunately.
The comparable thing that I saw that people are talking is, Bo went to the Pac-12 to chase a Heisman. Well, who went from the Pac-12 to the SEC to chase a Heisman? That's my biggest blunder to that, and that's what I've seen a lot of people talking about as well. Nobody was really screaming for Jaden Daniels to stay in the Pac-12. Just like nobody was really screaming for Bo Nix to stay in the SEC when he left. They were like, okay, goodbye. Good riddance. And both of them have resurrected their careers. It's a great story. But I think the biggest thing, if you go off history and you go off the way things should be and are showing they're turning back to, if you look at the polling and the way the committee's been this year, if Bo has any kind of a day and anything near the last Washington game and we win the game, he wins the Heisman as well. If he has an off game, then it's probably Daniels.
I do think it'll be Nix, Penix, and Daniels, and maybe Harrison in New York, regardless of
How many
winning.
people they invite? They used to invite like 10 guys, and then it went to like 5. And I think last year it was only like 3 or 4 guys.
No, last year was 5 for one of the first times because they brought in Bennett as like the bonus guy. Normally they only have 3 to 4 lately, but once in a while they'll bring in 5 if it's kind of close or whatever. And it was just because Bennett had 2 undefeated years, so they're like, well, I guess we have to bring him.
Yeah, I think you're looking at 4. And Harrison being the 4th.
And I do think the one thing that if committee members, or not committee members, but if the Heisman voters actually look at it too, is there was a stat went out earlier, which again means whatever you want it to be, is the one thing I hate the most when people talk about records is like they'll say, well, who has Oregon beaten? How many top 25 teams? And so say there's 3 Pac-12 teams ranked right now. Just say. They'll say, well, he beat 2 of those 3 because they didn't play Arizona, for instance. But if you go to the SEC, they'll say, well, there's 3 ranked. Okay, they beat those 3. Oh, they also beat these other 5 that are no longer ranked. So they'll be like, they beat 8. But the Oregon or West Coast teams will never get that credit. That's the bias-y that people know on the West Coast too much. Unless they're ranked currently, you don't get credit for beating them. But if you're an SEC, oh yeah, you beat all these ranked teams, but they're not ranked anymore. Or why they're ranked, you have no god idea why. Like at all. Like it was just mentioned here. Where to go? Yeah. Look at the committee to Utah. Yeah, no, Utah won and they dropped them. And someone said there's a little conspiracy about that. Drop Utah out, gives Oregon one less win, even though that was one of the dominating ones. So, it's all conspiracy to a degree, but it happens too many times where we see it. But this is just continuing to be like the 2014 season. Oregon lost to Arizona that year, avenged it in the championship game in defining fashion. Mariota ran away with the Heisman. We're gonna have to see though.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but we're on track to have a pretty special couple weeks here, being Duck fans.
So before we get into this game preview too, real quickly, I guess the question is: we know for one, and some people have already been talking about it in the chat. That's kind of why I was like, okay, I'll bring it up. We know for Washington, this is a college football play-in, potentially play-out game. For Oregon, is it 100% guaranteed win and you're in for the playoffs?
Here we go with this again. God, I've been listening to this all day too.
There you go. I like bringing up, getting Spaz all riled up.
Driving me nuts. It's just like the Heisman, just like it. Ain't no different. You got anything this side of the Mississippi, it is saying, well, if Oregon wins, they're in. But anything that side of the Mississippi, it's Alabama's getting in. Alabama's getting in. Oregon's not going. Florida State gets in regardless. Texas has got to get in. They've got the best quality win of the year. Ain't nothing can compare to that. And yeah, I've been listening to that all day, and it's driving me nuts because y'all are just, y'all. You hear me? Y'all are some full of shit, Feinbaum. Y'all and your stupid East Coast SEC bias. Oh, yeah. And Jackson Johnson. I will be on the Jacksonian this week. And we're gonna have it out, son, because I've had it with your Alabama bias. You guys need to watch some West Coast football for once in your life. Hell, we get up at 9 a.m. to watch your East Coast every year. Why can't y'all stay up to midnight to watch us once?
Well, I didn't know I would rival Spaz up that much about a simple question.
Yo, you got him going, Spaz.
I'm gonna cut that down into a short.
Yeah, he's been holding that one in for a minute. Well,
sometimes you just gotta let it out.
Hey, I can respect it. I think with the college football playoff, though, the committee has been telling us the same thing for the last 5 weeks consecutively, and that's Oregon is their favorite one-loss team. I see no situation in which Oregon wins on Friday and they don't make the college football playoff.
It's going to be tough. I mean, I have listened to the same as like Spaz. I've listened to like every possible scenario on earth, and in all likelihood, Oregon gets in, no matter what. Because and someone just said it. I mean, and we just had it. It's like the committee already is saying that. That's why we've been ranked ahead of everyone else so far. And now Washington is number 3. We're number 5. There's no way the number 5 beats number 3 and doesn't move up to number 4, at least. There's almost no way.
There's no logical sense in it whatsoever.
The only potential chaos would be Alabama beating Georgia, I think. Because if Iowa beats Michigan, Michigan's going to drop at least 3 spots. At least 3 spots, they're out. But if Alabama beating Georgia is about the only kind of crazy scenario where do they leave Georgia out? But are you going to leave out the highest ranked number 1 team? You just had one-loss team who just won their conference over the highest ranked team who didn't win their conference. This year is one of those years where it's like, yeesh. I mean, if Oregon were to get left out, it would be a tragedy and just, I mean, mind-numbing to us sitting here going, really? But also the unexpected twist was people said, screw it. What if Florida State beats Louisville by a field goal? And then the committee says, screw it. Next year's 12-team playoff anyways. We're leaving you out because you don't look that good. Well, that would be almost mind-blowing also, but there's no precedent for it and no unprecedented thing for it because by next year it won't even matter.
Yeah, Louisville can absolutely win that game straight up.
I think so too. Actually, I have a pretty good feeling that Louisville actually might win that one. But that would solve their problems.
What do we know, right?
Yeah, I mean, in this scenario,
6 weeks since it looked like it was going to be Louisville and Florida State, I said once even before Jordan Travis went down, I was like, maybe. But once he went down, I was like, I just don't see how they're going to beat a Louisville team that's healthy. Have they had some crappy losses? Sure. Were they probably looking ahead last week knowing they were already locked in their title game? Probably. So, and yeah, I think Louisville definitely can win that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of scenarios going around. And the question is here, do we flip-flop, I guess, with like Washington? I don't know. We at least move up to number 4.
Well, he's talking about Florida State there. He's like, even if we both win, do we flip?
Oh, maybe because Louisville now is down in the rankings even further. The question is because they're undefeated. That's kind of the.
Well, I get it, but at that point, if we go back to what was it, 2014, for the inaugural, college football playoff year, I believe we ran into this exact same scenario.
It's the only other year that it's ever happened. The difference is Ohio State beat Wisconsin like 55-0.
And we very well could see Michigan, put it on Iowa, beating them 45-6, and then this scenario, we could see Alabama beat Georgia. We could see Louisville beat Florida State. And at that point, all chaos is on, so like, I don't know. I think Michigan's about the safest bet this weekend. Outside of that one, though, we're in for some real chaos potentially this weekend.
Yeah, Michigan's definitely, I think, the safest lock for a win.
Yeah,
by far is the safest. Well, that's what we had too. I had even actually highlighted absolute chaos, and now we kind of went into a little bit. It's not even going to stop after this weekend until the rankings come out Sunday. The late night Saturday shows after all the title games are done are going to be either calm or just chaos, one or the other. Can I have another drum roll? Thank you. Let's get into the beef of this. Because we have the final PAC12 title game. Well, football title game. For the foreseeable known future of what we know as the PAC12 this Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific on ABC. Number 5 versus number 3, Washington. Oregon is favored by 9.5. I think they said it started at -8, and it's gone up to 9.5. And some people have said that's a huge line, which really it's not even 2 scores, but it's a huge line. But if you look at the original one, remember Washington was -3 when we played them, and what did they win by? 3. So -9.5, and even in that game, they said if it had been neutral field, Oregon would have been favored by a touchdown. So this line, if you go back and look at that to now, is not that ridiculous.
It feels very, very heavy, though. You know, initially, if you would have asked me a week ago to set a line in my head, I would have said maybe Oregon 3.5. You know, maybe 5.5 if you're feeling a little frisky. But 9.5, like looking at it right now on paper, I'm like, that's a hell of a line. Vegas is pretty confident.
If you watched the end of the game last week, there's a reason that line is at 9.5.
See, and that's what I'm saying. Who knows? You know, anything in that regard is all speculation.
You saw Penix at the end of that game last week. You know why it's 9.5. And Washington hasn't said jack squat all week, and they ain't gonna. But there's a reason that line is 9.5, and that is because Penix has a pretty serious injury.
Well, I mean, yeah, they tried saying this week that it was the flu. They said, "Oh, he had the flu all week. He was battling flu-like."
Well, they said apparently they've talked about it openly too. Though before that last drive, they gave him an injection for pain in his ribs. So he definitely is bruised at least. It's not good. Well, and I don't know. It's just because of that. That's not why necessarily that line is gone. One of the big things is look at how since the Oregon game, before the Oregon game, Washington was just lighting it up. During the Oregon game, both teams lit it up back and forth. Since then, Washington's been on this decline offensively to a degree. Their defense has stood up at times and given up a lot of times. Oregon's been pretty steady across the board. And I think that's what this line is indicative of, is just going the trajectory of where the two programs are going. Washington's kind of been on this slow downhill, while Oregon's kind of gone up in the way they've handled the teams they need to handle. We didn't have a 15-7 Arizona State win at home, you know.
It's just all the eye test, you know. If you believe in the eye test and what it's been telling you over the second half of the season, yeah, it's easy to see why the Ducks are a 9.5-point favorite. If you're a little more of a, well, things happen, you got to win close games in a long season, makes sense. Completely understand that argument as well. You're going to say, well, Washington's the undefeated team. They shouldn't be the underdog here. In my opinion, both arguments are valid. I have no problem with either argument, to be real honest. If the Ducks came in here as a 2-point underdog, I'm not mad about it by any stretch. I would understand it. But yeah, I think Vegas knows something. I think they can feel it. I think the Ducks are going to lay it on them on Friday. But yeah, well, we're about to find out.
You have inside sources on that Duck of the Desert? Or is that just what you're hearing?
As probably speculation, maybe because of the injection notice. But I've said this: if he has even a bruised rib or bruised ribs a little bit, you hit him once or twice, and he's not going to be feeling very good. They can give him so many. They can only give you so many injections to numb it.
That last drive right before that field goal, all they had to do was run the ball, and they kept throwing it. And they went down. They went back for a third down throw, and he got smoked and was on the ground for a few seconds, and then got up and just kind of staggered over to the sidelines. And next thing we know, we see him, face first in a bucket or something.
Ooh. Well, acute observations, that's noticeable because, you notice that wincing. But if this is true from a Husky fan, broken rib, leash.
See, that's what I heard right after the game as well. That's what was going around on Twitter.
Bruised or broken ribs, it's not easy to run around and throw the ball. That's going to hurt.
Yeah. You take a hit, you could be done.
Yeah, especially from a crashing 350-pound defensive lineman. You're going to feel
it. Lands on you one time. Good night.
You're going to feel it.
And I have to, for disclaimer here, one, we don't ever wish injury on any of the opponents. We want to see these teams full health, but this is late in the year. Injuries are part of the game. Penix is going to play through it as much as he can, I know. But, yeah, if he gets hit, it's going to hurt.
Oh, just objectively speaking, it will hurt if you have a rib injury. Yeah.
And that's one thing we were talking about too. Is the other topic about this coming up for injuries of the game, because obviously Penix has his from whether it's bruised or a broken rib, it's not going to be healed up for this week on a short week. That's just not going to happen. They can ice it up and inject him with as much pain stuff as they want. He's going to feel it. The other one was, we talked about it in Spaz. You brought up the news though. Gary Bryant Jr. apparently is okay and good to go for the Ducks.
Yeah.
Dan did not say anything negative about it in the press conference on Tuesday that I'm aware of, or for Monday. He said everything looks good. So
back at practice from what I've seen.
Yeah. Him and Florence both. He's a little more skeptical about Roderick Pleasant, but after today, he's pretty confident that both Jalil Florence and Gary Bryant Jr. are going to at least be able to give it a go.
That's good. We need the depth with Florence. Manning did pretty good. Manning did pretty good this last week, but we need Florence. He's still the number one back there. Well, number two, I guess, technically behind Jackson, but he's the other key. And that's good to see Bryant at least being able to try and go. But I think, like we said, Holden would step in for Bryant at least if he couldn't. At least it's not a broken bone. I think that's what we thought. It was like a broken leg or something. We were like, yeesh, because he got tackled hard on that sideline.
I thought it was a rolled ankle because it looked like they kind of twisted his foot with the roll.
Oh, yeah. He didn't get up. He just laid there and crumpled. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, that's how you know.
That's not good.
Serious pain.
And at the end of the game, he and Jalil Florence were both on crutches.
So that's when I was like, I think that's when Lanning was like, all right, we're going to take our foot off the gas. We're going to not risk any potential injuries that we don't need just to run up the score at this point. We have bigger things to worry about.
100%.
So injuries, Washington has McMillan back, right? Yeah. He's been playing, but not. He hasn't been a focal point.
He hasn't been the same Jalen McMillan that we've seen.
It's still been Polk and Adunze for the most part.
Yeah, it looks like they're missing Giles Jackson this weekend, one of their receivers.
Ooh, that's not good.
No, it's not. But clearly, wide receiver is a great position of depth for UW. So I really don't anticipate it slows down their offense anything less.
That's a good one too. That's right. Championship
Yeah.
and bowl, red shirts can play. So
Mhm.
we might be able to pull in some other. I would not want to put any of the red shirts in trick play situations, but you could use them as diversions.
No, if you need a third corner or safety, and he's a solid red shirt, why not use him?
Oh no. Yeah, defense put him in like a dime or the nickel position or something like that. But I'm saying I wouldn't want to use a red shirt like receiver for a trick play, other than being a diversion.
No, right? Yeah, you're not.
Because if he fumbled that ball, then they'd be like, "Why the hell did you have him out there?"
Yeah, you're
That's
not
what I
bringing
hear.
injury on Dickey for
Put him out there to make him go, "Oh, we got to cover this guy so that we can open up another slot for one of the other guys," kind of thing.
Yeah, where you make the defense look over and go, "What's he doing over there?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put any of the red shirts in that position, but putting out some of our solid defenders, like in the nickel dime positions or whatever in the secondary and stuff like that, or even maybe a linebacker here and there for like certain positional where they're good to do. I have no problem with doing that, or even throwing short slants, or at the end of the game giving the running backs some of the younger running backs and stuff. Let those guys in there, if they can.
Yeah, no, I think we'll see a lot of nickel and dime this week. I think we'll see a lot of Triquez Bridges and Nico Reed and Cole Martin. A lot of these guys who at the beginning of the year you don't think of as high focal point starters, but it turns out they're going to be playing some very meaningful minutes. I have a feeling those guys are going to be regulars on the field.
Sadiq is going to be running the ball.
Kenyon Sadiq,
another kind of power, like another Jordan James kind of. Because right now we only really have the two that are running since we lost Whittington. So put Sadiq in there on a couple of those third downs.
Are you talking about the tight end?
Is that a Sadiq? Who's the third running back?
Jaden Lamar?
Is Lamar technically the third? I thought we had a Sadiq running back too.
Or Dante Dowdell. Yeah, I think you're thinking.
Oh, Dowdell. You're right. I got Sadiq confused. Yeah, put in Dowdell and Lamar. Definitely. We give them some shots at that. I was like, Sadiq. Is that right? No, it can't be. I should have pulled up depth chart.
Nah, you're all good.
I have too many damn screens open. No, do not put Spaz in. He would die.
Spaz? Oh, hell no. Are you kidding me?
Are you trying to lose us? Are you trying to lose us this game, Mark?
It would be really interesting entertainment. I promise you, I would be locked in to see Spaz take a tackle from a UW defender.
He would probably get a personal ejection on purpose. He'd just walk up and slap the ref for no reason, just to get out of the game.
I wouldn't doubt it.
No, see this is why I think I had Sadiq. Yeah, they've actually done run plays with Sadiq. So he's kind of like the power. He's kind of like almost like another power back option. I think that's why I thought Sadiq. But you were right, Dowdell and Lamar though are the running backs. But that's why I thought Sadiq. I know I wasn't losing my mind.
I gotcha. It's been a long season. A lot of names to sort through.
And a lot of names that we saw early in the season for a couple games and we haven't seen since for obvious reasons because of the red shirt.
Mm-hmm.
They've used them nice. They've used the team very nicely in the sense of not burning red shirts, as well as still managing to keep the roster fluid but healthy. Like we haven't had an actual serious injury outside of, I guess, Whittington, really.
And that's like a big change over the past couple of years. It felt like when Feld was here, as the strength and conditioning coach, we dealt with a lot of injuries. It felt like it was very frequently on both sides of the ball, all types of injuries. I'm not saying it's 100% up to him, but it's, I think it played a factor in whatever they got going on there in terms of strength and conditioning. It's working well because they've been very, very fortunate in terms of avoiding injuries on the year.
No, 100%. I mean, last year there were more, but it was the first year in that conditioning program. Now this is year 2. That's when you really start seeing the adjustments and the changes in the conditioning. 2 off seasons. Speaking of Feld, as we have to talk about Miami, no, No, we are not picking up Tyler Van Dyke out of the transfer portal. I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. It's like I hope not. I'm sorry that it just doesn't do anything for me. But then again, I guess you could say the same with Knicks when he first came over.
See, and that's a fair point because I'm still say it till I'm blue in the face. The Ducks are grabbing a QB in the transfer portal this year.
Oh yeah, we are. And Spaz is very high on Cam Ward, which I did hear news that he is apparently going to go into the transfer portal today. I heard Cam Ward is apparently going to go into it.
There's a theory, and he'll have some interest. It's just I think there's going to be a few surprising names that hit the portal. In these next couple weeks, really. Here, I think the portal opens on the 4th, and it closes on January 2nd, something like that.
I would have to double check the date.
Yeah, it's less than a month though.
Yeah, I'd have to double check the date. I was listening to recruiting, so I heard the early signing day period, so the transfer portal kind of went out of my head.
We're gonna see it. It's gonna go wild this year. It's that's kind of been the whole thing.
And I told the guys on Tuesday or last Tuesday or this last Saturday, before we talk about that specifically, I think we're going to have to wait for one championship weekend to get over with. That way people see the bowl they're going to. Because at that point, if they're not going to the playoff, they could the backup could transfer, or if the starter is coming back, all of a sudden they could enter in after their bowl game. And the backup could leave. So we're going to have to wait and see. But those were a couple names I noticed today, especially that were supposed to go into and already did. So.
I'm sorry, were you guys talking about Cam Ward?
He's supposed to be going into the transfer portal. That's alleged today. But Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami did go into the transfer portal.
Yeah, I ain't taking a crystal ball reject. No thanks.
No, I was like, I don't want Tyler Van Dyke. I have no interest in him. But again, I did say we had no interest in Bo Nix when he was coming out there. I was like, we'll give him a shot, but it wasn't like it didn't move the needle at first for me.
I trust Dan Lanning and company's decision.
At this point, they have done nothing but earn the full trust. Well, OCs to on field play, everything.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like if we think about transfer portal pickups, like between Tez Johnson, Bucky Irving, and Noah Whittington. So you're pulling out of Minnesota, Troy, and who the hell is the other one? Oh, Western Kentucky. None of these three moves you look at on paper and you're like, oh, I can't wait. We need these guys.
What about Bucky out of Minnesota?
Yeah, that's what Minnesota, Western Kentucky.
Yeah, it's like. It must have broken up on my part. I was like, did we say Minnesota? I'm like, come on. Look at Bucky.
He was behind Ibrahim, that running back from Minnesota. So, he bounced over here. And it's just like those are the things that the coaching staff sees something. They see the potential. So, if they bring in somebody, whoever it is, I think they're going to probably be the guy. I trust their decision making for sure.
Who's Stein's guy?
Well, whoever Stein would like. I mean, I don't. The kid from UTSA, one I think is a senior.
Frank Harris, I think.
Yeah,
so.
I think he's a senior, and if he is, he probably still not quite. You got to bring in another Power 5 quarterback, I think.
Well, I heard today that we offer that there's 4 offers on, and Oregon already threw $1 million plus at Cam Ward if he chooses to enter the portal. I did see that today earlier as well.
We shall see. We are in for an interesting December.
And that's why I was like, we're going to have to wait and see how this goes over the next couple of weeks, especially because obviously a lot of teams aren't going to be doing it because Lanning got asked that specifically. How do you balance the recruiting and the stuff with the season going on? He's like, look, people are going to leave the program. I'm sorry, program. But he's like, we're not concerned about that right now. What we have to do is deal with the guys that are here. And he said, I talked to the guys. He said, hey, this may not be the place for your future, but while you're here, just do the job that you're supposed to do, and then move on. And he seems to have them all locked in to do their job now. And if they're still going to leave afterwards, fine. He seems to have a lot, but he said he's not really heavily thinking about it too much. I'm sure their scouting guys are out there, taking names and all that stuff. I'm sure that's happening. That's if they're not, someone's fucking around over there.
Oh yeah, what the recruiting class looks like and what the transfer classes looked like over the last 2 years. They're more than on top of it. So whatever they got going on, I trust it. I'm just waiting to see the name pop up on my phone screen and think about all the fun possibilities for next year.
Ooh, dragging us back on topic for a second here because I actually had this note and I put it down below because I ran out of space in my jumbled notepad. Mine looks better than Mark's, but almost as bad. This is a good question. I really wanted to ask Sergeant Pickles this. In all honesty, and the chat too, in the chat, please, do you think Washington would have preferred to play Arizona or Oregon for the title? Because remember, if Oregon had lost to the Beavers, Arizona would be playing for the conference title. As crazy as that sounds, as absolute crazy as that sounds, it would have been Arizona at 9-3. Hell of a year for Jed Fish.
Is Jed Fish the national coach of the year?
Oh, if Louisville wins the ACC, it might be Braum. It could be Braum.
But if not, if you have after a bowl game, a 9-3 Arizona team.
After a bowl, he'd be 10. If he won that, he'd be 10-3.
Oh, 10? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it's after a bowl and they went 10-3, I think it would be Jed Fish.
I think their win total expectancy this year was at 4.5. So
Yeah.
a 10-win Arizona team, he is absolutely the coach of the year.
I said they would win 6, maybe 7. If it had been 6.5, I would have taken like right on the line, 6.5. But to think they could go 10-3 and just a couple plays away here and there from literally being maybe 11-1.
Oh, absolutely. Because the USC game was more than within reach. I can't.
It was the Washington game.
Oh, the Washington game, absolutely. It's
rolled that remote majority of it.
Yeah, it's easy to look back and say coulda, woulda, shoulda, but yeah, they coulda, woulda, shoulda had 10 wins already this year.
We have a lot of Arizona in the chat. I have to kind of agree with that, but at the same time, Arizona's so hot right now, almost the same as the Ducks. I would almost give it a toss-up to some degree.
Yeah, I'm going to guess if this were polled right now, I think, and they're being real honest with themselves, I don't think there's anybody in that UW locker room who wants to play Oregon this weekend. I think Arizona is absolutely the more favorable matchup for them. Being hot aside, it's just there's something about playing your rival and then trying to beat a team twice in a year, as difficult as it is. But then you're doing it against a team who's streaking in the right direction. That team is also your rival. That team also has a major chip on their shoulder from just 6 short weeks ago. I don't think they want any part of playing Oregon this weekend if they didn't have to.
Mark brought up a good point here. Mark Rogers for everyone. He did a video earlier with Ryan Winters from Sports Chat, and they were talking about the whole, is it easier or harder to beat a team twice? Mark said he went through the history that he could pull up. The data isn't conclusive, but that's still one of those things that exists.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like it's still hard to beat a team twice. And I mean, I've seen it, and Ryan Winters has said the same thing. He's like, yeah, one team would blow us out. We'd play them again later. We'd blow them out for no reason. It's just, you can't. It's like once you do it once, you win. You're like, thank God, it's over. We have to see them again. Crap.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like they're like entirely different events, So what took place 6 weeks ago does not correlate with what we're going to see on Friday. We could see vastly different results. We could see a similar result. I mean, it's probably going to happen in a very different manner because these two teams have grown since, week 6. But yeah,
these two teams are very, very similar in multiple ways. Nix and Penix both have basically 3,900 yards even, literally 3,906 to 3,899. 37-32 touchdowns. Penix has a few more interceptions. 10 touchdowns for Irving, 12 for Johnson, 1,043 to 961 yards. And then Franklin and Odunze, 1,349 to 1,326 yards. 14 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns.
Well,
offensively, these teams are very, very similar in multiple aspects. It's the defense that makes the difference, whereas Oregon is a much better defense than Washington overall.
I think Jalen Polk and Tez Johnson are also within like 5 yards of each other on the year as well. So it's like, to your point, statistically, just an incredibly similar team. And like you said, to your credit, it's when you get to the defensive side of the ball, that's kind of when stuff changes a little bit.
Our pass defense, I believe, is ranked 42nd, which sounds awful, but that's giving up 214 yards a game passing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're 42nd. So just think, if you take a half a yard, how far you jump up. That's how close the rankings are. Washington's is like 100th.
Yeah, their pass defense is absolutely in the hundreds.
So
total yardage is in the hundreds, points given up in the hundreds, third down defense in the hundreds. They're the thing they got going for them is their rush defense, quarterback hurries. Those are in the top half of the country, but yeah, it's aside from that, not a lot to be incredibly concerned about. Just strictly looking at statistics.
Yeah. Either way, the teams are very similar, and then it's the rivalry built into the rivalry, but for the final Pac-12 championship. Before I have another drum roll, another moment of silence for the Pac-12. Oh, sorry. Had to get out my whimpers. Drum roll, please, while Spaz runs away. Because it's our favorite time of the night. I don't know. I think Spaz broke something.
Nope.
Score prediction time.
Oh.
We had a bit of a doozy. I haven't even thought about this at all. Like, literally, I'm just not even thinking about this. We had a bit of a doozy this last week. All of us were so far off on our score predictions. It was a mess. An absolute mess. Once again, I lose by 1 point.
No way.
1 point. But we have a first ever tie in the scores.
Ooh, who tied this?
Congratulations, Spaz and Derek. You each get half a point for doing nothing but tying each other.
Hey, we tied.
You were off. Both of you were off by 30 points total. I was off by 30. I was off by 31.
What? Yeah.
I've told you, I lose everything by 1 to 2 points every time. Every time.
I'll take my half a point with a smile on my face.
So you, Spaz has 2.5 points now.
Ooh.
Sean has 4, and Derek has 5.5. It's still almost anyone's game except for mine.
That's somebody guesses a score correctly, and it's a whole different game.
So we have to start with the winners here. I have to mark my time here, otherwise I'm going to forget where the hell I am. There we go. So everyone in the chat, please give us your score predictions for the Pac-12 football championship this Friday. Oregon versus Washington. Spaz, you and Derek are going to go first, then me, and Sean will kneel it with 0-0, as well as Sergeant Pickles, who didn't show
up. Sorry, I was just answering Mark Rogers. He just sent me a message.
Oh, boy.
We were talking earlier. I just this week is
he's stalling bad.
Yeah, he's really
chat. Let us know your score. Let us know your score while Spaz stalls.
Just it's just different this year. and we've said it all along. Every time, you go back to the beginning of the season and you look at where we all thought our defense would be, where we all thought this team was, to where we are now, and the different hurdles we've jumped over every single time, even the Washington game, admitting defeat, but knowing we had that game. We were right there from being 12-0 ourselves versus the roles being flipped on this. So I just believe that this is going to be a repeat of 2014 with Arizona.
Yes, Arizona.
Yeah. I believe we're sitting somewhere around 49-14.
Oh, okay.
Call me crazy, but I just think Penix is hurt from everything I saw and witnessed Friday, the way they walked that man off the field. No on-field celebration, no nothing with his teammates, zero zip, zilch, nothing. They walked him straight out of sight to the point they're in trouble. And this team's on a mission, and I think Lanning is going to use this game. This is going to be that game. There is going to be no let up. It's going to be full throttle, foot on the gas, no brakes, all gas, no brakes. Oregon is going to roll. They're going to make a statement and going to solidify themselves in the CFP with a win, 49-14.
I know that's even, and I'm the one who's been going kind of heavy on like the offense and the defense, and I'm even like, I don't know about that one, but I like it.
Spaz, before I make my pick, I just want to be on record saying I am actively rooting for your score. When I say mine, I would much prefer yours to be the correct one. So just let me put that out there right away. I think for a final score, I'm going to go with something fairly similar to what we've seen the last 3 matchups. I think it's going to be a tight game. I hope Oregon can blow them out, and I think they're well within their capacity to do so. Spaz brings up a couple of great points as to why that absolutely could be the case. I tend to be a little more of a skeptical fan in terms of what I expect to see in the field. Call it a coping strategy, call it whatever you'd like. I'm going to go with 38-30 Oregon. I think the Ducks are going to put up points. I think Michael Penix, he's got so many weapons. I think they're bound to find the end zone a few times. I think you're right. I think there is an injury going on that we don't know about, but they're going to do everything in their power to make sure they get there. There's a lot on the line. So, UW's going to throw absolutely everything on the table that they can to try to ensure that they get a playoff spot, to continue to try to bolster Michael Penix's Heisman campaign. But, yeah, I think the Ducks squeak this one out. I think they win. Maybe it's a UW late score that makes the score look a little more, close than it actually was. But I'm going to go with an 8-point Oregon victory.
I like that. I could see that too. I'm kind of in between the two of you. I'm very honest.
I heard the 8-point, but I didn't hear the score.
38-30, Derek said.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the middle of you guys. I have a little more confidence in the offense than Derek, and I have a little more confidence in Washington's offense than Spaz. That's it. Penix can be hurt. He just tosses that shit up, and Udunze is going to come down with it
eventually. Yeah,
I'm gonna kind of split it a little bit and go 42-28. So we still cover the 9, but I think they're gonna put up some points. And I mean, you could say, "Oh, one is a garbage touchdown. Point as it counts." Whatever. I'm gonna go 42-28. I did text Sean, but I don't think he'll get back to us.
And keep in mind, we had the number 1 rated rushing offense in the league, I believe, or number 2. Last weekend, we held them to 43 yards and their lowest scoring output of the season.
Spaz, I need to interject quickly. I hope your score is incorrect, and I hope Tony's comment is the correct answer. I would much rather see this be the case right here. You want to talk about giving a man some confidence. Camden Lewis bangs through a walk-off field goal to head to the college football playoff, seal of Bo Nix Heisman campaign. Yeah, absolutely. That man is back. I hope Tony's on spot here.
Yeah, I just don't think Lanning's going to even allow it to come down to that, though. Not at this rate. He did say in the presser that Camden was kicking it just fine in practices, no problems, but that's a whole. And he said we try to replicate game time, but you can't replicate it. It's hard to duplicate that type of situation. So it is what it is. Sean will give us his score prediction later. I did text, but I should have texted him earlier, actually. He's probably finishing up some stuff, so he won't get back to us. So in Pickles 0-0, Washington's just going to kneel the ball.
That's fine.
And forfeit.
That might be their bet. Especially if Penix is hurt. So, did you guys see the side chat? Some of it that's going on. I even pulled a Ben and told them stop being like Spaz and said, we'll get there, guys. We'll get there.
Which side chat? The actual chat? Just the chat? It's not a side chat. It's just the chat. Yeah, I've been watching it the whole time.
Any comments for any of those that don't see the chat per se or can't keep up with it? Any thoughts on your guys' side?
I don't know, but Eddie just got banned from the chat.
What?
I don't know, but Eddie just got banned from the chat. Sorry, Eddie Cito. You're out of here, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, score prediction from Sean, 31-24 Ducks.
Very well could be. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. That's so why we do this, and that's why I lose every weekend. You guys suck. I have no idea what the hell Spaz is talking about because I'm watching it on slow motion on StreamYard, so I've been watching every chat message go by. They
started getting into the CFP things and predictions and.
Oh yeah, that was way back here.
Yeah,
that was a while back.
Hence why I told him to wait. We weren't there yet.
Yeah, I was like, I've been. He's just trying to copy what I tell him every week. Like, stop jumping ahead in the timeline. Yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about that come up, especially depending on how, of course, this Friday goes. Win, a lot to talk about. Lose, not as much to talk about. Except for maybe like the whatever they call it now, the Fiesta Bowl or Cotton Bowl or something like that, like that.
I hope we play Iowa. If that's the case, if we do lose, I want to play Iowa. That's all I want.
I wouldn't mind that. That'd be okay. It'll still be a big bowl no matter what. Mm-hmm. They're not going to send us to the Alamo Bowl.
No, we'll get a New Year's Six bowl.
Nobody's held us under 30, you delusional puppy.
That is true. Oregon is the only team, I believe, this year outside of maybe Georgia that has not been held under 30 points in a game this year. I'd have to check that stat again. I think it's just Georgia and Oregon that have not been held under 30 points this year.
Yeah.
Very well could be.
And I don't like especially come Friday night, we'll have a big rant about it. I'll make a special note. You guys remember it. The transitive properties about Oregon versus Texas Tech compared to Texas and Texas Tech. The transitive properties do not exist, especially with that far in between in the season. It just doesn't work. And different quarterbacks and
early September, late November, or late October, November. Yeah, get out of here with that shit.
well, and different quarterbacks for their game style, their gameplay changed. And
if week 12 Oregon plays week 2 Oregon, they blow week 2 Oregon out of the water. It's not the same team.
Yeah, and on the road versus at home also. There's a bunch of different factors involved in those two comparisons. It's like it doesn't even matter. Any final thoughts quickly on this Pac-12 championship, the final Pac-12 title game for college football? Well, that went the final moment of silence for the Pac. Way to go! What a douchebag!
Oh wow, Spaz, he was on that shit. That was quick.
I was about to click it, and then he sneezed. I'm like, you dick!
Wow, Spaz, you asshole!
Don't ruin it. Sneezed all over the final Pac-12 hopes. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, though, on this game? Because this is going to be this is kind of what everyone thought it would be at the before the season. Well, except for the delusional people who thought it'd be USC.
Ooh. But in terms of final, no, I think everything's pretty cut and dry. What needs to happen this week, I think everybody understands how this game needs to go for the things they want to happen. Oregon knows what they need to do. I fully believe they're going to come in prepared. Like I said, I don't think this is the same team that UW faced 6 weeks ago or whatever it was. I think we see a different result on the field. I hope it's Spaz's result. That would make my heart happy. But regardless, no, man, I'm very excited for Friday. I'm cautiously nervous, very excited though.
Knock on wood, every time Derek has been cautiously nervous, we've basically blown out the other team.
He's not wrong. That man is not wrong. So, hey.
Utah, he was nervous. SC, he was nervous.
That's a fact. Spaz is speaking the truth tonight, and I'm back on it again. I'm cautiously nervous.
We got to have one cautiously nervous analyst. That's right. Can't have everybody all Urban Meyer.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Utah was the nervous one because I was right after USC too, and they actually had a good offense. So it was like, ooh. But USC does that to every team, as we have seen. The one thing I will say, there was a note earlier before Spaz's thing. The Oregon, I guess the season ticket holders, the game tickets went on sale for ticket holders earlier. They sold out within an hour for Las Vegas.
Done.
So like they immediately bought all the tickets that they could get. So that's a good sign. That means the turnout's going to be, that thing's going to be packed.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. They'll probably, I guesstimate, probably 10 to 15,000 Oregon Duck fans will be in Vegas.
I think it'll be almost 50-50. I think it's sold out hard because it's the final Pac game too.
Sell 70,000 seats in there. I don't think you might sell
60. It's 66,000. The seating for that Allegiant 66,000.
Yeah, that's why I said 70,000. I don't think they're going to sell 70,000. They might sell 50.
Yeah, 50 would still be pretty good. I mean, if it's almost 50-50 in the sense of.
That's why I said 15 to 20, because I figure they'll probably sell 40,000 seats in there. That it'll make it look sold.
And you think you're going to get a lot of kind of other random fans who already had tickets and were like already going anyways. So they're going to help fill up some of that area too. So it's going to be a good venue no matter what. The Las Vegas venue was so much better than Santa Clara.
Yeah, and
that was so stupid.
I'm curious to see, how well Washington travels, fan base wise and whatnot.
Pretty good. Washington travels pretty good, especially somewhere like Vegas.
They'll have their fans there. I expect that they have plenty of representation in the stands.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll be near as compared to our area. I don't think. I bet it's 2-1, close to it.
I can't wait to find out.
If it is, then that line you're going to see that line pregame go up more for the Ducks. If it was,
Yeah, because you can just shuffle everybody over, compact it in.
Spaz, any final thoughts on this game for Friday night?
Yeah, Kyle's right. Oregon travels very well to Texas or Vegas, and we travel pretty well to just about any bowl game. Anything in Arizona, Vegas, California, Oregon's gonna put a good chunk of fans in there for a bowl game, championship game, whatever it may be. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready. These crazy cinematic hype videos just keep getting me jacked every week. That OSU one was just phenomenal, to say the least. I just love what's our new saying, fellas?
FIBU?
Oh, FIBU? Is it the FIBU?
No, that was the saying. Now what is it?
What's the other one? There was another one. I saw another one. What was it? Unless it's a different one. I think he had another abbreviation.
Ain't nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, baby. Kyle, you're the winner. That's right. You know it. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Spaz, I didn't know you had the voice of an angel.
Fucking cursed angel.
Y'all saw the video and couldn't come up with it? Kyle, you're the man. I knew somebody would get it.
Well, I'm looking forward to this game. I mean, obviously, because not just because the Ducks get back to the championship game level, at least appearance, but again, it's the final one. I would have called this a season of mourning, but I don't want to get sued by Tosh.0 and Comedy Central, so I can't do that. So that's why the moment of silence. Gentlemen, please let everyone know. Just remind them where we can, where everyone can find you at. It's scrolling on the ticker down below, but just to make sure, because some people just like to hear your beautiful, beautiful voices for some reason.
Yeah, right here. You can find me at Twitter. Wait, who's Derek? It's where I spend most of my time. Look forward to the interaction.
You can find Spaz on his phone.
So yeah, Spaz is somewhere,
Yeah.
somewhere down here.
Yeah. I'm right there. Rocky Classic on Twitter,
Pretty close.
X, whatever. That's the best place to find me. Facebook. If you know my real name.
I could say it right now. So
Just go check the comments. He's in the comments.
it's true. That is true. And I'm just Ben of Exploring with Ben and Sam. I put that up a little too early. And Exploring with Ben down below on Twitter. Exploring with Ben and Sam right here on YouTube for non-sports related material. And every Tuesday here with these final gentlemen, the post games, and every Sunday night on Mark's main channel for the College Football After Dark. But you can join us right here every Tuesday night for the Oregon Ducks Live weekly show. And then make sure this Friday, right here for the Oregon post game live, win or lose.
9 p.m.
9 p.m. Will it be 9 p.m.? Yes, it would be 9 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
11 Central. It will be scheduled ahead of time, so hit that notification bell and subscribe. Hit that like button. Make sure you follow us all here. And gentlemen, any final word really quickly? Otherwise, I am ending this nightmare.
Huck the Fuskies, baby. Let's go.
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, baby. 'Cause landing's coming for you. You got nowhere to run.
Just keep going. Just keep going. That is a. Just keep going. Just keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. We'll see you all. We'll see you guys next. We'll see you guys next week. Keep going, Spaz.
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Actually, post game.